Moore, big right-handed batter, 6'4", 225-pounder. Fastball is in there for a called strike, and Cagle ahead of Moore now 1-2. Moore, another veteran, actually joined this team late in training camp, taking the spot vacated by Brooks Kieschnick. That ball was fouled out of play on the first base side. Count remains 1-2. Brooks Kieschnick was expected to be the big name, the big gun for this team. Had a rather illustrious college career. Here's the 1-2 pitch to Moore. Swung on, ground ball right side, under the glove of the diving first baseman Vasquez, and there is your first base hit in Rox history, delivered off the bat of the big right-hander Mike Moore. A leadoff single here in the second inning. Kieschnick, just to complete the story, wanted to make a comeback as a pitcher, and the Rox were going to give him that opportunity. Wanted to keep his bat in the lineup as a designated hitter when he wasn't pitching. Cagle misses outside, is now fallen behind Spurl 3-0. Came into camp, did Kieschnick, one day blasted what manager Ed Noddle called the longest ball he's ever seen hit in all of his days in baseball, and that's a long time. Out at Stonehill College, where the Rox are training. And Spurl takes ball 4, so Cagle, who breezed through the first inning, has given up a leadoff single to Moore, and now has walked Spurl on 4 pitches. So Kieschnick was going to make his comeback as a pitcher. Anyway, gets a call from the Chicago White Sox after one day of practice, and the White Sox agreed to let him pitch at their Triple-A affiliate in Charlotte. So he's out of here, and the Rox had to go shopping in a hurry for another big slugger and found Mike Moore.
When I was hired by the Brockton Rox to do their play-by-play in 2002, they were a member of the Northern League, which was founded in 1993, not affiliated with Major League Baseball, although the quality of play was so good in the Northern League that Major League teams were sending their scouts to their games and signing their players. And there were a lot of talented players in the Northern League, which had some rules that were designed to ensure a competitive balance among the teams and to keep the payrolls down. Each team had to have at least 5 rookies and could have no more than 4 veterans, veterans being players who had more than 4 seasons of professional baseball. And that was where the real strategy came into play. Choosing the 4 veterans was likely the most important decision each team had to make. There was also a salary cap to be met. For its veterans, the Rox were going with Kieschnick, catcher Mel Rosario, shortstop Saul Bustos, outfielder Chris Vasquez. Well, then Kieschnick bailed, and the timing was horrible. The Rox had already had a tryout camp at which the shining star was outfielder Billy Rich. Now, Rich had 3 years of professional experience, so he was not a veteran by Northern League rules, but still the Rox could not figure out a way to add him to their roster. He took off and was quickly signed by the New Jersey Jackals. That would come back to haunt the Rox, who had to really scramble to find a replacement for Kieschnick, and ended up being outfielder Mike Moore.
Moore cut a little video out at the practice field at Stonehill College that'll appear up on the scoreboard. Several of the players did, saying, I'm Mike Moore, and thanks for coming out and supporting the Rox. He did it in one take. I said, Mike, you may have a future in broadcasting. He says, well, my uncle's a broadcaster. Really? Who's your uncle? He says, it's Ahmad Rashad, the former NFL wide receiver and now a network sports broadcaster. That's his uncle. Ahmad Rashad used to be known as Bobby Moore before he changed his name to Ahmad Rashad. When he first entered the NFL, that was Bobby Moore, receiver for the Buffalo Bills. I asked Mike if he keeps in touch with him. He says he talks to him every once in a while. Actually, Ahmad is a friend of one of the Rox owners, Bill Murray.
Despite the loss of Kieschnick, the Rox were upbeat breaking camp. They'd won all of their scrimmages. One exhibition game in Pittsfield got snowed out. Seriously. The other exhibition game, they pounded the Elmira Pioneers 11-6 in Elmira, and that was where their season opening series would be played, Elmira's Dunn Field.
Up here at historic Dunn Field, which goes all the way back to 1939. So one of the oldest ballparks, and then they'll be playing in just a week in a brand new facility. But a great location. It sits in the mountains, the Allegheny Mountains. As you look around, just a great backdrop. And over the left field wall, there's an embankment, and just beyond that embankment runs the Chemung River. So it's quite scenic out here, and it's hard to believe that back in 1972, there was a flood here, and the Chemung River actually crested up over the embankment, and this whole ballpark was underwater. And they got this thing refurbished. Now the right field line, they actually have a little carousel for the kids, something you don't see in many ballparks. A lot of history here as well. If you walk through the ballpark, if you do come out to Elmira to see a game, as some folks from Brockton have for this contest, make sure that you walk through the concourse, because there are a lot of pictures hung around the stadium, some great history to be seen. In fact, there's a great shot of Don Zimmer getting married at home plate right here on this field.
For me as a broadcaster, this was a huge, huge game. In addition to describing the action, I needed to talk about the home opener, the opening homestand, all the cool upcoming promotions, needed to point out all the firsts in Rox history, and there would be a bunch of history made in the opening game. But most importantly, I needed to introduce the team to the listeners. Now, I firmly believe that people are more willing to spend their hard-earned money to see a team play when they know about the players and care about the players, as opposed to going out and seeing some nameless, faceless group of guys who happen to wear the home uniform. I needed to make introductions, in addition to the million other things on the list.
Carlos Rosario will have the distinction of being the first batter for the Brockton Rox. We're ready for action. Coming up on the historic first pitch of the Brockton Rox history as Carlos Rosario stands in. Cagle rocks and fires, and the first pitch misses up high for ball one. There's a ground ball, one hopper to the first baseman, fielded cleanly by Vasquez, who will beat Rosario to the bag for the first out of the ball game. So the first batter in the Rox history, Carlos Rosario, grounds out to first base unassisted. Another 1-2 pitch. Swung on. This one's hit pretty well to center field. Cosby's going to have to get back in a hurry, and he settles under it and runs it down. Cosby covers a lot of ground, and this is going to be one of those guys that over the course of a season is going to be extremely fun to watch. That ball was tagged pretty well to center field. Cosby plays pretty shallow, got a great jump, and was able to flat out outrun the ball. Pop up, shallow left field just beyond third base, and Bustos makes a beautiful diving catch to Rob Hill, and even the Elmira fans standing up and giving a hand to Saul Bustos, a full body extension in midair to plunk it out of the air for out number 3. Josh Spurl now up to the plate, the designated hitter. As we said, the middle of this lineup, kind of a Rock'em Sock'em Express. All three big guys, Dan Graham, Mike Moore, and now Josh Spurl, 6'2", 230 pounds. This looks like a football team. Spurl looks like a football player. He actually was a football player at one time back at the University of Texas, a linebacker. Would not want to be hit by this guy. Can you imagine? When you have such a young staff, it's nice to have a veteran catcher, and that's exactly what they've got in Mel Rosario. He's got a birthday coming up. In fact, it's tomorrow. Mel Rosario will be 29 tomorrow. 1-1 pitch, off-speed pitch. Rosario takes a big cut, but was way out in front of it, and the count now 1-2. Rosario has played in the Padres organization, the White Sox organization, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Texas. Pitch misses inside. Again to the White Sox, Arizona, Kansas City, L.A., and now Brockton. He's been all over the place. I was talking to him, and he's been around, so the guy knows a little about what makes a good pitching staff. Here's the 2-2 pitch, ground ball foul on first base line. He said that he wasn't quite sure what he was coming to, what kind of talent level that he would see from this staff, and he says he has been very surprised in a good way. He says this staff is as deep, if not deeper, than most Double-A and some Triple-A teams that he's called. Here's a guy who's called in the big leagues, albeit briefly in the bigs, but has been at all levels of baseball, and he's impressed by what he sees here.
The Rox won their season opener 2-1. Starter Joey Baker picked up the historic win, and Brockton wound up taking 3 out of 4 games from the Pioneers, a great start to the season. The Rox look confident and were anxious to play in front of their home crowd at their brand new ballpark Campanelli Stadium, but before that, they would have to play 3 games in Little Falls, New Jersey against the Jackals at the house that Yogi built. When you come to a fork in the road, take it. Be sure to click the subscribe button to follow my wild and wacky journey with the Brockton Rox, because more episodes are on the way. Thanks for watching.